So yeah, since Mike, you kind of brought up earlier, like the Streamlit Heroku, I was like, oh, I should kind of show you a little bit like what this looks like. And it's going to be really quick. I'm not going to go the full tutorial of like Streamlit and all this stuff, but I think this is kind of useful if you are using Streamlit. I know we talked about it a couple times already. We can kind of see what that looks like. So let's see here. You guys can see my screen right here, Mr. Geislinger, Finance Web App. Okay, good. So this is the repo I have here. And so note that I have like this main branch, which is like, you normally create the stuff. This is the app.py, which is just basically a Streamlit app, right? It's very, very small, very simple. This is actually, I was messing around for, I have this little spreadsheet I made like a while back, and I was kind of sharing it with my brother-in-law. And I was like, oh, I have this little web, like I can make this little web app, like here, let's try this out. So this is why Streamlits can be super useful, like deploying something really quickly to like a client, or just showing something, like showing off your work. It didn't take very long to actually mess around with this. But I'm going to go into this branch here. So what I did here is I actually made a separate branch called Heroku. It doesn't have to be Heroku, just what I called it, right? But you guys know how to make branches at this point, right? From your GitHub terminal, and you push it, cool. So I made this profile, and you can see here the difference on this guy. It's like there's still the app.py, which is the same as my main repo. The .getignore, same as my main, not my repo, main branch. And then I have this pro C file, right? Or proc file. And then I also have requirements.txt and setup.sh. So these three parts are actually going to be part of like deployment in Heroku. So Heroku, give me a thumbs up. Has anyone like come across this? I know a few people have, like Mike and Alvaro. But if you guys haven't seen Heroku, and I guess since it's being recorded, it's kind of useful to talk about. Heroku is just a really quick way. You can do the free tier to actually host, like an app, essentially, a web app. And it's really friendly with Python because it makes it super simple. So I actually have it already pre-defined here. I'm not going to go through all these different parts just because I have like other sensitive information that I don't want to accidentally expose in the recording. Maybe after I stop recording, I'll share that. But basically, you'd want to go create a new Heroku, like a new Heroku, what's it called? Not an app, but a new instance, essentially. And there's a bunch of tutorials to go with that. But assuming you already did this part, this is like, well, how do I connect the thing that's Heroku with my Streamlit app? And what you can do here is like, okay, you can connect it. Like I find the easiest way. I think Mike talked about using the command line tool. It's the CLI tool, which is fine, but I actually really like connecting it directly on GitHub. And this works even with private repositories. So you don't even have to worry about being like, oh, I need to make it public, and I don't know if I really want to make it public. You can actually make this with a private repository. So you connect it with GitHub. You go through the whole process of allowing it to like be interact with your GitHub. And then you basically say which repo you want specifically to connect to. So in this case, I have you can see Mr. Geislinger web app. In fact, I can see it's right here, right? So that's how I connect it here. And then at this point, you can actually deploy it manually right here. And you can deploy it by choosing a certain branch. And so one thing I would suggest is actually having your main branch, sometimes it's called master, right? But we're moving towards main. It's if your main branch, and then like the branch you use for deployment. So a simple way just in case, like, oh, Heroku, it's like my branch. So that way I know, oh, that's going to be specifically when I push to that branch, that is going to be the stuff I want on Heroku. Okay. So once you have that, then you can actually deploy it. So that actually makes it really nice. And you can even make an automatic deployment. So if you make pushes on that Heroku branch, or whatever branch you call it, it will automatically start building an update for you. So what's kind of cool is you can kind of play around with it a little bit, right? And then you're like, okay, it looks good. Go ahead and merge it onto, or even just push it, but merge or push onto that branch, and then it'll just automatically update. So it's kind of a nice way to kind of like go back, do a little experimentation, and then when things are looking good, you can then go ahead and add it to and have it deployed out for other people to see. So once you have that, you can kind of name different stuff. So for example, I called it nestegg.heroku.app.com. And I'm just copying and set this to you guys right now since I have you guys here. So I have to pull up the chat. There it is. So you're going to play around with that. And so at that point, then, it's just a Streamlit app. Like you can see this a little bit, and like you can mess around and do with different stuff. And so this, for example, you can have pandas data frames, all that stuff you would do with Streamlit. Anyway, that makes it really nice and easy. So that's the process of actually setting it up. Like once you have everything put together, the big part is like, well, what do I need in my repo? What do I need in my branch to actually make this work? And that was those three parts. So I kind of pointed out the proc file, the requirements.txt, and SSH. Requirements.txt, we've seen this before, right? Like this doesn't seem crazy stuff, right? Just know that this basically is the thing to say what packages you're using. So in this case, I'm using pandas, using Streamlit, and I'm using NumPy. And so you can actually use this with different packages like pip freeze. You probably only want to include the packages that are going to be relevant in here, because otherwise it's going to list a whole bunch of packages, like every single thing that you have installed. So you want to make sure you have just the stuff that you care about. And that way it doesn't install everything on there. You can just install just a couple things on there. It makes it a little bit quicker. Okay, so that's the first part, requirements.txt.
Yeah,
The next
if
part,
if you use Python environments, you can generate it from your Python environment.
Exactly. So that's the easiest way. You like Python environment, kind of like a Conda environment. You can actually do the same thing with Conda, and then produce that. That way you don't include all the extra dependencies that don't actually matter. So making its own environment for every app you make actually makes life a lot easier. But anyway, just make sure it's relatively short. Even if you have your own environment, you might want to still make sure that these are the relevant packages that you want installed. So Heroku, when you deploy this, will actually look for the requirements.txt and actually install this. So look for this and check it out. The other part you want is the setup.sh. And this is actually going to be like, this is specific for us doing for Streamlit stuff. We're actually going to tell Heroku, use this setup.sh, the shell script, use this to when you first build essentially. And so this right here, I put this on here way before. I actually don't know if this is needed for Streamlit, but the first thing is basically just making a directory called Streamlit, and then actually adding in our credentials. In this case, you can see fake email at example.com. I think this matters if you actually pay for different things. I don't actually know if Streamlit even has different tiers right now, but the idea here is that you have credentials. This isn't even, you don't even have to put your real email here. I actually wonder now, is that if you even need this in here, it could break it if you don't have it, but I haven't played around with it enough to know. But basically that's what this is doing here. It's just making credentials and then actually taking, oops, sorry, hold on a second. Oh, sorry, someone was, my mom's delivering something. She finally went to the Asian market and said she's gonna get a whole bunch of stuff for me. I was super excited. But anyway, it's my wife's got to take care of that. Anyway, so okay, so this part right here basically just adding the credentials. This part right here is the main thing that's saying to like when you actually run Streamlit, what's happening, like what Heroku's gonna do. And so basically you can just copy and paste this. It's just kind of talking about saying, oh, it's headless, it's true, what port it's going through. To be honest, you don't have to worry about too much stuff. If you want to, you can explore a little bit more. But once you have
sorry, Vic, that was what was giving me so much trouble yesterday. Like it would output that to that TOML file, and then the TOML decoder couldn't figure it out.
Interesting. Yeah. You might want to be careful with if you copied and paste it. Like for example, if these quotes were smart quotes, which is really confusing because they're like slightly diagonal. Sometimes that happens too. Yeah. So if you do have something like this, like in this case, if you were to copy this specific like file, you should be fine. But if you ever find something like a tutorial online, if you like copy and paste it, just kind of be aware of that, because that happens sometimes where someone types it in like, on a web blog post and it defaults to smart quotes where it's kind of like at this little slight diagonal or whatever. It might not work. So that might be what happened. I'm not sure. But this should work in theory. I don't know. I could be wrong though. But yeah, so that should work. And then once you have this file, you're like, okay, we have our requirements, we got our setup.sh, then we have something called the proc file right here, and just proc file. And all it is basically, it's just saying to Heroku, saying, hey, use the web, use this as the setup. So it's basically going to run this command. So if imagine like running this in your terminal is sh setup.sh. Basically that's saying like, hey, with the shell terminal, well, not shell, the shell right here for bash, run this script setup.sh, which we just run over. And then after this is done, run streamlit run app.py. And app.py is just my Streamlit app. So that app.py earlier. So that's the kind of idea. And then once you have those three parts, you can just deploy it and it should work in theory. Yeah, and so then you can run through here and you can actually look at like the build progress, for example, like if you see it actually building stuff like that, you can see what's going on. But yeah, it's actually not bad once you have those three parts and you confirm it works once. So one suggestion I have, if you're like trying to figure this out for the first time, make app.py something really, really simple and then run this and then see if it works, and it should work in theory. And then you can always just add to your app.py, just keep changing this stuff around, and those rest of the setup should work perfectly fine. So yeah, and again, what I like about this is that if you have automatic deployment, is that if I do changes on right here, you know, let's say for example, here, I'll show you guys maybe real quick. So we see the Streamlit app right here, there's no title. I think there's a, let's see, let's do st dot, is it title? So I can add like something on there. I think that's right. Does anyone confirm with Streamlit? Yeah, okay, Mike's nodding, so I'm gonna assume that's correct. So now if I save this, or update this commit, this will actually deploy this out. So I go, let's say, add a simple title. And this will take a while too, because remember, it's another computer that's actually building it from scratch, essentially. There we go. So, and given enough time now, you'll see here, oh, where is it? This won't change, like you'll see right now, because it's building right now. So it's going to use the version that's already working. But I believe this is where, if I show you something that's not, that's so, like sensitive, I'll just block it out or something.
So it does it as soon as it's finished built. It's not like a deployment schedule where they only deploy certain, you know, at certain times of the day.
Yeah, you can do certain things like this is more kind of like CI stuff. But for example, you can see this build in progress, but that just happens now. Yeah. And you can see that my build progress. Mm-hmm. And you can see here, this is actually like as if like you're looking at the computer running. So right now it's compressing. You'll see it go through once it kind of goes through different parts of it. Yeah, so it makes it really nice and easy because it's like, oh, once you make a change to that, like, you know, it's going to eventually, you know, build. In this case, you might be taking know that it's like its memory, I think for the free version is 500 megabytes. So it's not super big. But for most versions of stuff, you don't really need a huge amount of memory. You can see here,
yeah, it's
launching and it looks like it's released.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Let's see if we get a hello. Yeah, really convenient. Like this is what makes like, I think especially with like this, like you used to do this with like Flask and like Dash and like, you know, Django and stuff like this. This makes life really easy because you can essentially, there you go. So you can see hello. So this makes it just like, oh, I can make Streamlit like apps really quickly, which again, to be frank, I've only recently discovered Streamlit, so I'm not an app master in it. But it's kind of limited, but it's limited enough where you can still do a whole bunch of stuff where you guys can probably play around with it. And like, there's only like a handful of commands that are Streamlit specific and you can do that. One thing I will say though, if you do Streamlit and Heroku and you're planning to kind of share this out to a lot of people, because Heroku basically is going to be doing it for each, you know, person essentially, right? Like they're basically like serving it up, is that if you have a bunch of people accessing this and trying to change things around, it might kind of like slow down quite a lot. One nice thing Streamlit actually puts in where you don't have to think about it is it builds a cache. So you can actually, let's see here. We can actually use a decorator. You guys remember decorators like way back before. You can actually use that to cache, what's it called? There it is, at st streamlit, right, .cache. And basically what that does is that if someone else asks Heroku, hey, like do this specific parameter that you might input, it's like, oh, I've already have this saved up. Don't worry, instead of recalculating the whole thing, you know, I can just serve that up, which, you know, for individual people, it's not that big of a deal. But if you had many people join the same website and it's doing, for example, this is like expensive computation, it doesn't have to do this for each individual person. It does this once, and that cache is shared across anyone else who has that same exact parameters and whatnot. So it's pretty convenient. And again, that's kind of more advanced stuff that like you would have to like really think about working correctly on like a Flask app or a Dash app. I think they might have some tools for that, but it's going to be much more on web server, like a web developer that they have to think about, and you don't have to do that. You're just like, oh, here you go. I don't have to worry about this. You figured out Streamlit. So again, really convenient. Yeah. Cool. Any questions on this person? I know I went through it really quickly. I didn't go through every details of setting up Heroku, but I think you guys can mostly figure that out. The main thing is once you get Heroku, one of your instances, just making sure you get down to this deploy part. I think the easiest one, in my opinion, is just using the GitHub connection, because you guys already know GitHub and you can just push it to a branch and you know it's going to work. Well, it should work at least. Cool. Yeah, sound pretty good. All right, I'll stop the recording here. So then we can really explore into all the different parts. I didn't want to, because I have a bunch of emails and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to share all that stuff. How do I stop recording on here? There we go.